We're live.
Well, I know there's a lot of you that might have been here at 8 o'clock, and I've personally got to take responsibility. I did, well, to start off, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, do my exercising, and then went into town unscheduled to build a ramp for somebody that had their leg amputated and was like 35 or something. And so I went and built the ramp and then went on to the scheduled uh, job, which was to paint an apartment. I actually thought I was going to do the flooring because they had the paint in the living room kitchen done and it wasn't done all the way. So we end up painting um, for 3 or 4 hours because I got a phone call to go another hour away from where I was, which is an hour away, and fix a plumbing problem and to crawl underneath the house, which so I'm not represented by the clothing that I came into. So then I came from that it was about an hour and 45 minutes away, and then back over here, which made me 10, 15 minutes late. And then we had problems with the phone that we used to do the live stream with, and we've been having problems with it. It's a great phone, but it's not a great phone when it comes to this live stream situation. So we're going to have to do something different. Anyway, what I've been doing is a wide range of things, like working on the roof yesterday, uh, working on floor yesterday, floor underlayment, and was trying to work on plumbing, but uh, I couldn't get to the pieces to do that. So wide range of things, and unplanned, unscheduled. It's causing me a lot of grief, but it's just normal. So I apologize because even though I want to be real determined about doing things on time, I have to explain to people all the time, can you tell me when you're going to be here? Uh, well, it depends on how long the repair takes that I'm working on before you, or the repairs, multiple repairs before you. Even with the long haul schedules, like a bigger job, um, we can get into things that were not planned inside that job. There may be more damage than was originally hailed and estimated. So when you do an estimate, it's trying to guess at what it will cost or what you're going to do. And over again, uh, especially with things that are not done by me, somebody else did, and I don't know the methods that they used, and so you can try to. What happens when you get an estimate that they don't mind if it goes over is one that has so much in it. And I will give you a for instance. I had a job that was estimated for like $15,000. It had a $7,000 deductible, and they asked me, "Can you help us with it?" So I did it and got into my money, but for the 4,700, and the other part of it's got to come in through the insurance company.
And we're still waiting on that.
And I'm waiting on that, and I'm hoping the good nature of them, which I've known them for quite a while, they'll give me the money whenever the insurance pays them the rest of it. But I'm doing it for less than what that $7,000 deductible is. So there's so much in profit in these jobs for other companies that hey, we came into something, they're going to try to hit you for it. But even if they don't, they could have done the job twice and had profit on both sections, like I am. So anyway, some of the things that happens is that I'm talking about is not necessarily about money, but time. It takes longer, and things are unplanned. And so I'm reluctant to say, yeah, I'll be there on this day. Today I had a text. When do you think you're going to be able to come by and work on my project? I said, well, latter part of next week. Great. Okay. And she knows that that emergencies can come up. And by the way, yesterday we worked on a sewer system too. So grinder pump sewer system, which it has been a continual headache. Come to find out, the owner and the original guy who installed it had constant problems with it, and I didn't know that. I'd figured that the people who bought it from him had problems, and they sold it to the people that I'm working for now. But no, the original owner of this system had lots of problems and told the lady next to it, hey, when you see that light, could you let me know? So anyway, it was designed and had problems from the beginning, I guess, which kind of makes sense. And here I am with people that tend to not want to spend a lot of money on anything, and they're having to spend a lot of money on this system. There's no way I could have predicted it. I don't have any way to predict it. So this is how my life falls out, and I am perfectly willing to apologize for not being able to do what I thought I could do. It's not, it doesn't cost me even dignity to apologize. It is part of my life. It is part of the imperfection of the world that we live in. Things come apart, and everything requires maintenance. So, what I wanted to talk about last week, we didn't get to, and I'm always willing to listen to questions that people have, and I have no problem whatsoever with that. And so what we're doing is reinstall the conversation, which I fill in before. If there's questions come up, then I'll stop. So what we were going to talk about was buying mobile homes and things that I look for. And I had talked about when you pull up to it, you see the roof lines. If it's up and down, do you know there's some kind of problems with the frame of the house, maybe the rafters? And you can also, I can tell by looking at the bottom part, where the skirting is, unless the skirting's put in poorly, but you can see the windows up and down. Again, that tells you that you have problems with underneath, or the floor joist / ridge beam, which is the wood that goes on the outside to hold those floor joists together. And a lot of times that is affected by the fact that it has masonite siding. So when you have a house that has a mobile home that has masonite siding, you're going to want to make sure that that outside 2x6 or ridge beam and the floor joist going back are not really damaged badly. And if it is, you can still fix it, but now you're at some expense to have it fixed. If you do, so now you're adding to the cost that you would have to spend. So it might adjust the cost that you're wanting to purchase that house for. So I want to start with the base rate. The cheapest of the cheap mobile homes is around $50,000, $55,000 to purchase. And then you have utilities such as sewer systems and water supply, electric, all those things, and a place to semi-level to put it on, and skirting, things such as that, porches. So those are all things in addition to that 50,000. So when we're talking about buying a house for 5,000, 10,000, it's just a, it's now we may be looking at a 1/7 of the total cost of anyway. So if we're going to 70,000 complete, 80,000 complete with utilities and everything, I'm not counting the land, purchase of the land, but all the things that it requires. So now when we're going into this house, we're trying to figure out how much money we're spending. And I'm telling you that windows, uh, the damage below the windows can tell you that maybe either the roof is leaking or the window itself, and there will be damage on the inside and the outside because that window was not sealed. So when you see it on the outside, when you go through the front door, you will start looking, begin with, on the door, and just inside the door, you'll see if somebody overlaid it with a piece of wood or put a piece of metal, thin metal underneath the carpet, things like that. When you step on it, you can hear that metal move, but it's still soft. I've actually seen a yield sign or a stop sign tucked underneath there that was been, given up by the county or something, some metal sign underneath the carpet. And that's because the door was leaking. And, it was beyond their ability, or perhaps they didn't want to do the repairs, or, to fix it. Because a lot of times what happens is those people, instead of spending money to maintain or pay somebody to maintain it, they spend it on 72-inch TV, surround sound system, inexpensive couches, and a nice car, and then just live in a house until they just can't live in it no more, and don't repair it at all. And it seems to be kind of a common theme. Even somebody like me who rents mobile homes, they tend to, since they don't have to pay for the water here, let's say, they don't care if it leaks, it's running water under and damaging the floor underneath the cabinet. They don't care because it's not costing them anything. They don't own the home and they don't pay the water bill. So that makes me where I have to say, you know what, I'm going to have to consider putting in water meters where I
on. I had it on. It was showing sound.
Okay. I hope it didn't last very long like that. So, you know, all of these things are part of what you need to look for. Uh, so that water heater can be a journey to fixing itself. If it's leaking, the water heater itself, you're going to have to replace the water heater. So if it's gas, you're looking at $650 just to purchase it yourself. If you hire a plumber, they're going to want to put, and probably have to put, because they are a master plumber and they know better, supposedly, that you need a check valve and a pressure tank. So that would be, you could spend $1,500, $2,500 on a $650 water heater. Thank you for,
Yeah, you're back on.
thank
Thanks
you for
for
letting
letting
us
us
know.
know. It dropped out twice. Okay. Step next to the windows.
So what we talked about was step near the doors. Should make sure the damage from a leaking door is not damaged the floor. If it has, you need to figure out how much that costs and how much time you're going to have involved. And then you're going to check around the windows, which they may have leaked also. And that means you may have to move the couch back that somebody has up against the windows. Check all the windows in the bedrooms. And I said, you need to check underneath the washing machine where it's at and the damage that it might have done. And you need to check the water heater area. And not only where the water heater, if it's leaking, it's not only where the water heater is located, but also the floor going out on maybe into the closet or into another room, which is on the other side of that wall that surrounds the water heater. Then you want to check into the refrigerator. The refrigerator often has a condensate pan that leaks because it's not sitting level, or an ice maker for water or whatever, and it might have a filter that's got a push-pull, and those things are notorious for leaking, and they cause damage. And sometimes people never know. Even if they do know, quite often they just let it go because it's a mobile home and I don't care. and they're just going to move and they're selling it because they don't want to fix all those things. So you need to know what you're buying into instead of being covered up with optimism. Now, can there be problems right in the middle of a floor? Yes. What that often is a mouse chewed on the line, a supply line, and it's spraying up onto the bottom of the floor. Or there is no plastic barrier on the bottom of the mobile home, and the moisture from the ground is hitting the bottom of the mobile home, the particle board, and that causes the floors to go up and down because it's getting moisture to it. All right, so those are things that you're checking. There's one last place where you have water: bathtubs and showers. Now, those you're going to notice if there's cracks in that tub or in that shower in the bottom. And the factory uses, instead of thick bottoms on those things or shells of them, the garden tub or the shower, they use a foam bottom sitting on the floor to be, and it works for many, many years until there's a leak around either the faucet that drips down or the drain. And if there's damage, it'll rot out the floor underneath it, and that's when you get a crack, because now that foam has nothing to support it, and that person steps on it and it cracks. Oh my goodness, I weigh too much. No, you could be 500 pounds and it wouldn't break like that. What is going on is there's damage underneath there. There's damage to the floor underneath that shower or that bathtub, and you're going to have to fix that by pulling out the tub. You can try fiberglassing it. It will not work. It will work for maybe a little bit, but then it will not hold together. I promise you, because I've had to fix them after this been tried over and over. Okay, so check your bathtubs and your showers for soft spots in front of it, and you see if there's cracks in that shower or that bathtub. Finally, check the toilets. The damage around the toilet quite often can be not totally noticeable, because sometimes what people do is the toilet starts wobbling around, and so what they'll do is they'll take caulking, and it starts coming out from underneath the toilet, and they'll take caulking and caulk all the way around the toilet. So what that does is concentrate all the water to sit on top of the linoleum floor, which is cut in order to allow the drain to go through, and it will soak back on that wood, whether it's particle board or regular plywood, and it will be damaged, so that the toilet was, I've seen it where the toilet was just sitting on top of the flange, and the floor, like linoleum or carpet, believe it or not, there's been carpet in mobile home bathrooms, is just nothing underneath it. Okay, so you're checking the toilet also. See if there's any damage, and that's happens quite commonly. And if there's a leak from the toilet tank or the fill valve, all those things, a lot of people will just ignore it. Oh, well, I'm going to go back to my TV show and I'm not going to think about it. And they'll let it damage that home. All right. Another thing that you're going to look for that can cause you a little bit of grief is that the switches and outlets are hanging out of the wall. A lot of times that's not because there's anything to do with the electrical itself. It has to do with the box was a cut-in box, or an old work box they call it now in Lowe's. So that it has there's little wings that you cut the hole in, and you put these wings up, and it clamps it to that drywall. Well, people just jerk the cord out of it or something that tears it out of the wall, and now it's just hanging. Switches, you'll see the cover taped to the wall with duct tape or packing tape, and you're like, oh yeah, we've always had problems with that outlet. Well, that means that you're going to have to take that box apart and put a different box in and replace the drywall so it has something to hang on to. That's a little bit of a journey, even for an electrician. And a lot of electricians don't want to hang drywall. They just want to do the electrical work. That's understandable. I understand that, but that's not what I am in. I'm involved with all of it: the plumbing, the electrical, the painting, the trim, the carpentry, all of it, the floor covering, the roof. So what I'm getting you to look at are these things all cost money. The electrical outlets, if you can't do them yourself, which you can, then you're going to have somebody who has some knowledge with the drywall and putting in the outlet, the new switch cover switch. So the mobile home ones, quite often they made the cover all part of this cut-in box, so that the wires are inside there, are pressed into these V grooves, and they get loose. And then you have problems out throughout the house because the power goes through that power where they put multiple wires in there, and then that box gets to wobbling around, and then finally they just tape it to the wall, or they put a piece of paneling over it and glue it behind it to try to give it something to hang on to. I've seen some pretty inventive and pretty ways of trying to fix that, but it's still not fixing it because the factory made those press-in copper V grooves, and it's not tightened to it. It's just stuck in there. So those things eventually get loose because of all that movement. And it takes a while. Sometimes it takes a good long while, but it really has to do with the abuse of whoever lives in there. So the electrical outlets and switches are very important. Then we're going to talk about, you probably can calculate what it takes to do new floor covering, like new carpet, if you're going to have carpet, or new tile slash VCT, vinyl composition tile, which is 1x1s, or laminate, or vinyl laminate luxury tile. I'm kind of just whatever kind of floor covering you're going to have to put it in. And you can expect that if you didn't look along the walls for those leaks, both on the ceiling and the wall, on the floor, you'll find when you pull that carpet back or that linoleum back, that you'll find where you've got to fix. In addition to the floor covering, you're going to have to fix the floor structure, the flooring itself. All right, so then you have all the paint on the ceiling, replace light fixtures, things like that. These things can seem daunting, but they're the same kind of things that you deal with on a conventional home. Doors, if they're hanging off their hinges, if they're broken at the bottom, flopping and stuff like that, because a lot of times, or somebody punched the door, you're going to have to replace the door. Not a hardcore thing to do, but it has to be done. I've seen a lot of people try to just put their dog in a room, and the dog will dig through the door until the bottom of the door is gone. And then they, oh, well, yeah, that happened a while back. I forgot to mention that. Fans can be hanging from wire. It means you're going to have to put some wood up there, fix the drywall, and then put the electrical back. It can be a little bit of a journey to do that. Those are all things that you need to look at. I'm going to give you another one underneath the house. You need to look at the frame, because sometimes a mover can get hung up, and just that truck is so powerful, it will bend the living daylights out of the frame. So you need to be able to look at that frame with a flashlight, look through there and see if it's really bent bad. Because if it is, you might literally have to spend a lot of money paying a welder to weld it straight so they can go down the road. If the tongue has been cut off, you're going to have to pay a welder to weld plates on both sides of that tongue, which is a bit of a journey, so that it will be literally stronger than it would be originally. So if it's just been cut off instead of unbolted, sometimes it's welded on there, so they got to cut it off if you want to have skirting that doesn't have that triangle in the front, and they'll just tuck the tongue in there. If it's not, guess what? You've got to find a tongue. They can be found, but you're going to have to get a welder involved. Those are an expense that the mover doesn't do, and if he does, he's going to charge you for it. All right. Underneath that house, while you're looking at the frame, look and see if all the underpinning's down. Because if the underpinning is down, you're going to need to put it back up, or the moisture is going to get to the bottom of that floor and cause it to warp. And it's also going to make cold floors for your feet. And I'm hoping I'm not discouraging anybody, because I want you to understand I can go all the way through this house and still be cheaper than the $50,000. I've done it so many times I can speak with unequivocal confidence that it can be done. Now, I may be one of the few people that can have a low enough overhead that I don't have a brand new truck. I don't have an office with a office manager. I don't have a whole bunch of people trying to maintain the warehouse or nothing. I don't have all those things. So maybe that's the reason that I can do it. Or maybe I just have a conscience and I don't need to make $500 an hour without actually doing the work. I'm not being facetious or expansive. I'm telling you that in air conditioning, and you might consider too how much you're going to have to spend on the air conditioning. I guess I should have mentioned that. If the air conditioning's been damaged and they're not using it, you're going to have to replace it with something. You could do mini splits, you can do window units, you can do a number of different things, but that's an expense. Even if it's a good system, it's going to have to be pinched off and fixed so that moisture doesn't get back into those lines. And you'll have to re-solder it, to have your air conditioner guy re-solder it, put it back together, vacuum it down, and put new Freon in it. If it's really old, that means that most likely the heat exchanger on the gas electric or the gas heat exchanger is probably got cracks in it. If it's over 15 years old, most likely it does. What does that mean? Well, if that heat exchanger, which air is rushing by, has cracks in it, that will kick out carbon monoxide into the air that you're breathing. Does it kill you? Only if you get a whole lot of it. But I will tell you, it will make you nauseated, give you headaches,
make you sleepy.
Yes. So it can kill you, but it's not likely, because mobile homes tend to, generally kind of drafty. If it was really, really airtight mobile home, enough carbon dioxide could kill you, but it's not likely. It doesn't happen that often. What is going to do is make you nauseated, sick, and headaches.
And start having those symptoms, you need to go to the hospital.
15 to 20 years old on a gas heater, you can pretty much count on. Now, you can have them look for it, but what they do is they open up the front of it so that you can see the heat exchanger, which air goes by, and they put a light inside that heat exchanger, and if a light comes out on the outside, you got a crack. Usually you do, because it's been heated up and heated up and cooled so many times that it makes a crack in the corners usually. So if it's a gas heater, you're most likely going to have to replace it if it's 15 years old. And it's the same with a water heater. How do you tell how old the water heater is? Sometimes you can tell with a model number, but most of the time it has a stamp on it to tell you that it meets the such and such regulations for the year that it was made. Pretty close to the year it was made. 1996, it may still be heating water, but you can pretty much count on you're going to have to replace it pretty soon. I mean, a good water heater is going to last 15 to 20 years. That's really, really good. The new ones, I bet you, they don't make them that well. And it's on purpose, just like cars and so many other things. They make them so that you'll come back. Washing machines, there's like 5 models out there. that are actually repairable. Most of them are made where when it starts going, something goes wrong, you got to replace it all, because you can't replace the bearings on the bottom of the tub anymore. They made it part of the tub so that you can't replace it. Now you have to buy another one. And you're thinking, oh my God, I've only had this thing 5 years, whereas a Speed Queen back in the day might last 25. It's on purpose, guys. They're not inventing
Planned obsolescence.
They're not inventing so much on improvements. Like your iPhone, how much has it improved in the last 5 years?
Not much.
Not very much. Some, not very much. So what they're doing is you go ahead and buy the newest iPhone because they made a new one. Why? Maybe some tiny little improvement, like back in the day would be facial recognition or fingerprint, or oh wow, I'm gonna pay $1,500 for this new iPhone. It's marginally better. It's not worth the amount of money that you're paying. And that's the same way with all these other things. So what you're looking at is the electric heater is a little different. It could last a while. When you're looking at electric heaters, you're looking at a high electric bill in the wintertime. And I have had people say they're not inefficient.
Oh, we got a question. Hey Phil, I'm gonna hang vinyl siding over mobile home aluminum siding. Do I need to screw 1x3s?
Nope. Go straight to the metal siding. Go.
And he says, do I need house wrap and gummies?
Nope. The vinyl siding is the perfect vapor barrier. It's the metal siding, I'm saying, is a perfect. It cannot be. A house wrap cannot be better than metal siding to begin with. That is for when you have bare plywood that you put your house wrap on. Believe me, I'm going to have vinyl siding guys disagree, but I'm telling you, I have put vinyl siding on metal for 25 years or more, and there's been no problems whatsoever. What you have to worry about when you use screws, which you will to get fastened to the, which I use anyway, is you don't want to tighten your screw so tight into that slot that it can't move. That means it needs to have a little bit of slack so that when the sun gets on that vinyl siding, it expands. And then whenever it gets cold, it's what is the word? Contracts. Expansion and contraction is what those slots are for. So if you use a nail with like a roofing nail to put on the siding, which you're not going to do when you're fastening to the metal siding, it needs to not be tight. And a lot of times you'll see people use staple guns and they'll fasten that siding. And what that causes, if you get it too tight, it's not fatal, but what it does is what's called oil canning. So whenever it gets hot, it'll expand and it'll just start wrinkling because it can't move. It'll expand enough that you can look down it and you'll see wrinkles. So you need to allow a little bit of slack with your screws. And a lot of times I'll use a wafer headed screw. It costs a little more, but has a wider head, as big as maybe the roofing nails that the guys use for siding on plywood. But going to that metal, you have no need for any strips or any house wrap. There's no need whatsoever. Okay? There will be no problem. So you just go ahead. I would use it. Don't tighten your screws too tight, and if you can, don't use a bugle headed screw. Use a wafer headed screw. That would be better. All right. So the roof, that'd be something that you would improve on a mobile home later. You could do it immediately. If any house that you're going to do from top to bottom remodel, the first thing you do is get it level. Because if you go and put the roof on first and then you level it, you could easily open up whatever roof you had that was secure. So fix your level of your house. That's on a conventional home too. Then do your roofing. Now maybe you're siding after that. So now you're dried in, is the saying. That's house or mobile home. Foundation, roof, siding, go inside. I tell people all the time, it's discouraging to take on a whole house, gut the whole house, and then walk into a gutted house for a year or two. What you should do is go into a room that you can spend the time with. If you don't have the money right away, start on a smaller room, tear out whatever you're going to tear out, and fix that, and then you'll get better when you get into the larger rooms and you say, oh yeah, I'm going to do it this way. So when you're buying that mobile home, keep that in mind. You're going to tear out a room at a time instead of the whole house. Now, I had a gentleman the other day said he just couldn't stand it anymore to get rid of that mold smell. I understand that. I get it. That's really the easy part. And I worry a lot of times that people get discouraged, and I see it all the time on Facebook Marketplace. There'll be conventional homes where people went in, and this has been my experience to step into it. They gutted the whole house, and then they end up fighting or running out of money and no place that they can stay in this house because they didn't leave any room that wasn't gutted. And that's really enthusiastic, but there's not a lot of money in gutting out a home. But when you start putting that house together, now you have no place you can stay in it, and you got to wait till you have the money to get through. And it breaks down relationships.
Quickly.
People will fight about it, and they end up just dumping that house after they did all that work and not really spend a lot of money, just demolition the inside of the house. Now that people are even more daunted to get it done. So you might actually get less for that house. So when you're going into a mobile home, I recommend you just do a room at a time. If you do the smaller bedroom first, you make all the mistakes you're going to make probably, or more of the mistakes you're going to make initially, and then you get better at it by the time you get into, say, the living room. If the cabinets are in bad shape, you might want to consider that you may have to spend money on cabinets.
That can get expensive.
Yes, if you're having somebody doing it.
Good place. If you're doing it yourself, you want to check Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. One of the places I go to is Habitat for Humanity's Restore. There's two of them within an hour and a half of me. And they're more in Springfield and such as that. But, you drive them a long ways. The Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, things like that, you can find where somebody gutted out perfectly good cabinets. They just wanted nicer ones or a different style. There's nothing wrong with them wanting that. It's changing clothes for them, and for you, it's saving you a ton of money if you can adapt those sizes to your home. But you need to know that cost is still going to be there. And if anybody, like your electrician or your plumber or your drywall guy or your cabinet guy says, I don't work on mobile homes, what they're really telling you is you can't afford me, and they're doing you a favor. Doesn't mean that they don't have the skill level to work on a mobile home or it's a mystery. Because I've had actually guys in a hardware store say, oh, well, mobile home plumbing's different. No, it isn't. It is not. A faucet from any house will fit in a mobile home. There is no difference. Toilets are the same. The only thing that's different is the size of a bathtub is 4 inches smaller, lengthwise. That's it. There is no difference in plumbing. The only thing plumbers know is everything goes downhill and payday's on Friday. That's an old joke. So there is no difference in plumbing. There is difference in the cabinets because they're made as poorly as possible because they're trying to get a budget home together where it'll move down the road and not be too heavy. So it's up to you. You start with the package and you just make your package better. You get better as you spend more time on it. And I've seen some elaborately nice mobile homes on the inside. Beautiful, gorgeous, comparable with any conventional home.
Oh yeah.
It's just up to you to determine what you want to spend on that home. But when they tell you that I don't work on mobile homes, they're saying you can't afford me. I mean, I've literally had a plumber call me
Mhm.
and say, hey, we don't work on mobile homes. We came out here, we didn't know it was a mobile home, and I've got it turned off so she can call you to come out because, it wouldn't be, we just don't work on mobile homes. What they're saying is, this lady cannot afford me. I'm just going to do this nice thing and head on down the road. And that's what they did. So when you start charging $600 to repair a toilet, the parts cost $30, there's some profit. And it takes like less than 15 minutes to fix.
Yeah.
So a conventional home, they're used to paying it because it's all a mystery. And it's a mystery to the people who live in mobile homes too. I just want you to know what that means. Now, when you get ready to buy that mobile home, know that you're going to have to spend money to have it moved. Talk to your mover. Make sure your mover has insurance, active insurance, not had insurance 6 months ago or even a month ago. Make sure they have active insurance. Check and see if it's legitimate insurance before they go moving your home, because I know over and over again stories of guys who hook on and they blow out a tire, maybe 2 tires, and they say, I can't go anymore. We're going to unhook from this trailer and leave it on the side of the road. Why? Because they don't have insurance, and when the police pull up,
That's the first thing they ask.
they're going to get a big bunch of tickets. Okay? And a lot of times they don't even have a driver's
That's what I
license.
was gonna say. A lot of the guys we know don't even have driver's licenses and are doing it.
Yeah, they get busted out. Eventually they get enough tickets, they quit. But they go for a long time because you can make, well, now it's $5,000 to move a single wide, $10,000 to move a double wide, or more, depending on the degree of difficulty getting it there. How far off the road, how many bridges you got to go through, cannot make it maybe. They're going to let you know. But I've known situations where they hit a tree and knock off the back 10 feet of your home and leave it on the side of the road and keep on going. That sounds crazy, but I know that it happened. There was a lawsuit over it. And I've seen them where they ran over a guy's riding mower. I've seen them where they run over chainsaws. I didn't see it. I've seen them where they rub trees. So that, that insurance is important. Now, when it comes to people complaining, not giving them 5-star, that's not necessarily important, because a lot of people just complain to try to, because the expense is, and by the way, it's a massive, massive skill to move a mobile home.
That is no lie.
It is not something that just your regular trucker can do. I promise you, it is not something that anybody can do. It is a true skill, and it takes nerves of steel to get through. Eventually they wear out. They get, some of them get to where they don't trust any of their employees. They have to get out and look at it themselves. The employees are just there for the grunt work because they didn't been run over things, and the employee just standing there. So check your mover, check the reputation of word of mouth is a lot. It really is. Complainers online, it's professional complainers out there. They'll complain because they think they can get a discount after the fact. I'm going to leave a bad review if you don't give me a discount. I mean, you're not giving me a discount, so I'm going to leave a bad review. Professional complainers online, is a whole group of people. So what you're going to do is word of mouth. Who's a good mover? Talk to that mover. See how you feel. And particularly women are good at registering whether a guy's
Creepy or not.
a liar or creepy. Men tend to, yeah, he's a man. I'm not trying to say all men or all women the same. I'm just saying pay attention to how you feel about that. So there's quite a few tips right there on looking at that mobile home. When you get it to wherever you're going, you can expect there'll be things like doors that are not working right, and I can tell you how to fix them. Windows that get cracked, that's nothing. If that's all it was, you did good. You know, they got it muddy, or they drug.
Seriously?
Oh man, sometimes you go down a dirt road that's got, like I went through one today because it rained a whole lot, and I had no idea that it was like 2 feet deep. So when my truck dropped down in there, steam came out because the exhaust hit that water, and it stayed with me going down the road. But if you're in a mobile home and you drop 2 feet like that, you're dragging the backside, and it just slings water and dirt everywhere. The truck is spinning, and it'll throw mud up on the front of the trailer. That all washes off, okay? That's not a big deal. What you're trying to do is get that big old package down the road. I have seen them where they go through a ravine that they thought was just fine, and when I get there, the wheels are off the ground. It's hanging up on the front and hanging up on the back. Can't pull it anymore. So that's when they, used to call me. Now, they don't do that as much. They got the, I don't know, $15,000-$20,000 robots with tracks, and they can lift up a house and move it around and carry it for a little bit. Maybe that they end up with skid steers with a 6-way hitch on them so that they can maneuver. They end up putting wheels on the backside. There's some really wild situations where they get hung up, drop down. So one of the things, if it rains, a mobile home mover probably won't move for 3 days, because if he goes off that dirt road or that paved road and hits the grass, that $40,000, $30,000 to $50,000 home will drop into the dirt in a heartbeat, and so will the truck, and it'll just be stuck. You can jack it up, put stuff under it, go a little further. Both the truck and the trailer will get stuck. And even if it's been dry for a long time, you get out there in a field and you just drop. You can put plywood down, and a lot of these skids, they make, like, back in World War II, they used to make these aluminum plates that had holes in it. You could lay them down. That's kind of rare. Now they have plastic mats that you can put down, and they hold up pretty good. You can drive something into the corners of them, and that keeps them from slipping out whenever the truck spins on it. But believe me, whether or not they have that stuff or not, there's truly a lot of technical things. I've seen these guys in Tennessee where they literally have the house spread out over a ravine. I don't know how. You have to have a really good mobile home to be able to handle that kind of weight and not collapse. That's amazing. Not something I would ever want to have my mobile home do. No matter how well I thought it was made, I would not want to see it have to span a gap and not have any weight where the wheels are. That thing's made to carry the weight where the wheels are. And believe me, I've seen it where they can do it, but I would not want it done. And I bet you anything, those guys are all tensed up. I promise you. And
That's gotta be spooky.
so that house just, they're done. They're buying that house. Or they made you sign a waiver saying, look, I can get it there, but you're going to have to sign this waiver. If anything happens, I'm not responsible. I've had a couple of moves, and the guy said, you got to go with me, because when this house falls apart on the side of the road, you got to be there to talk to the county. I didn't have to do that, but that's what they told me. We spent all night welding on the frame to get it where it wouldn't drag on the front and the back at the same time, and got it there. If we had blowouts, I'd jump right in there on the side of the highway, cars whizzing by, and jacked up that house and put them tires on and go down the road some more. I've done it. I've seen it where somebody broke down and left their car or truck sitting on the road, and now that mobile home has to go go down into the ditch because that broken down car was just left on the county road, and fold the tongue, and then we had to make a decision to slide it on the tongue until we get to the place. Or we're putting a tongue on the side of a hill. There's a true talent to moving a mobile home. If there are decks, that'll probably have to be separate. Sometimes you can make an arrangement with the mover and he'll move those too, but it's a separate charge. As well it should be, because it's a true journey in itself. I've got tons of stories about me moving great big old decks and what the journey was to put it back together. And that's another skill. So hopefully I've given you guys things to think about. Everything that I've told you affects the price. None of it is going to make it where it's impossible. It's just how much money are you going to spend to get it there. And if you're doing it yourself, you can do a whole lot. If you're having to pay people to do it, you better figure that out.
You're not going to be able to move it yourself, though.
You're not going to be able to move it yourself. They don't allow that. The only exception to that is what you call a park model, which is a 10 wide mobile home that's small, and it's called a park model. It's crazy what they get. Some of those things are $80,000. I don't know where they get off charging that much, but it is really pretty inside and out. But you can move it with a 1-ton truck. I wouldn't. 10 wide, you're supposed to have a wide load permit for that. Anything beyond 8, even if you have an 8-foot wide, you're supposed to have a permit. So, but evidently they allow it, at least in Arkansas and Texas, I think. But I've seen people do it and do it legally. Ask me to do it and I wouldn't do it. Because I know what you can get into. You can't see unless you have an escort in the back, whether you're running over something. When you turn to the left, you might be swinging the back end of it, hitting something. You need somebody behind you. So if you're doing it by yourself, you're having a real problem. And if you don't have a legitimate dovetailed back end of your truck, when you turn, the back end of your truck's going to hit the corner of the house. If you don't have a heavy enough duty transmission, you're going to burn up your transmission. Now you're stuck on the side of the road with a broke down truck and a mobile home. So those are park models. You're not going to see a ton of those because they're not inexpensive. They are expensive, and I don't know why. I don't get where little houses now, they're trying to charge $36,000 for a 12 by 32.
Are you kidding?
No, I see it all the time. I think it's just because they just keep upping the ante until somebody says, ow, and nobody buys it. But as long as people buy it, oh, it's cute, I like it, it's perfect. That's all I need. So anyway, these are all things that you guys need to think about. And every bit of it can be overcome. Even if it costs you more than what you planned on, you can overcome it. Every problem has a solution. Sometimes it costs you more than what you expected. Maybe you could have bought a new one cheaper. Remember though, they start at $50,000 plus all the utilities and everything else. So if you're getting a house for 5 or 10, cost you 5 to move, you're at 15. That means you got $35,000 you can spend on that house. Believe me, you can have a really nice house for $35,000, particularly if you're doing a lot of the work yourself. I'm telling you, you can have way nicer house than what that newer home would be. All right. I spent a lot of time talking, and I'm
Had to back up a couple times.
yeah. I apologize for all the unplanned things, but that's part of my life as a repairman. It's lots of unplanned. If I get a call at night, it's not good. Somebody's having a problem. So I don't think there'll be a time when I won't be able to stand the stress. I think there will be a time when my body will not hold up to it. So far, not yet. I think it might be. Hopefully, I will be 80 something years old when my body starts failing. But we'll see. So far, I'm getting close. In June, I'll be 65. And I'm more strong physically now than I have ever been. And I promise you, I'm as big as and bigger than I've ever been. So my age is not slowing me down. Not yet. I have no infirmities. I have no medication that I take because of a health problem. Okay? So I'm going to be around for a while yet. And I have no intention of retiring. If I retired, I probably would go crazy.
Or drive me crazy.
Make her crazy. So I would like to leave that thought with you guys, because I'm not the guy that's depressed about life and say, you know what, you shouldn't mess with them things because they're just too much work. I just said, go get you home and then call somebody to repair knick-knack things. Don't bother me. I'm not that guy. No. I have 14 of these things here under my purview. Believe me, I know how much it takes to fix them. All right. So I like all of you, even if you don't like me. So I'm more like Will Rogers. I've never met a man I didn't like. Well, what I've learned to do is appreciate the struggle, and I know that everybody's struggling. You have to decide how much you struggle, how much information you have. Let's see if AI can give you, even by copying what I say, what I'm telling you with some conviction and modulation. They can't do that. She edits things, it takes out pauses, but I'm putting the pauses in to get across to you that you're not talking to somebody who does not know, that I'm not faking it till I make it. I'm telling you because I know it can be done. You can take it or leave it. I understand why you would not want to listen. I understand why you would. I understand because I am a human being also. I have no intention of making you feel bad. I have no intention of putting you in a bad spot. I just want you to know I'm the best cheerleader you ever met. If ever you need to be encouraged, you give me a call. There's never going to be a time when I'm telling you, hey, you need to go ahead and give up. All the best to you guys. Catch you later.